My name is Gregg Widdowson. I'm from Avaya. I'm the digital engagement lead for Avaya here in the UK and Ireland. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is to explain and introduce you to Breeze and Oceana. Now, you probably heard Johan mention Breeze when he did his piece this morning. It's all about how we can integrate different technologies, different communication channels into the business process to provide that key customer journey, that key customer experience. So it's all about making this as effortless as possible for the consumer. It's all about how we can actually improve that customer journey, but doing it in a way that allows you to do it both quickly and easily with minimum disruption, minimum development time, so that you can keep ahead of the competition, get ahead of the market and introduce these new channels of communication, the new delighters that we will find that provide that emotional response that Taz was talking about into your customer journey. So we're going to start just quickly by explaining where Breeze fits into the overall architecture and what Breeze is. So this is our digital engagement architecture here at Avaya. And you can see it's made up of four main building blocks with Breeze in the middle. So I'll just quickly explain what those building blocks are. And we start off at the bottom left, no, bottom right-hand corner as you look at it, which is about our communication platforms. So these are the communication platforms you'll have known Avaya for the last 20 plus years. That's the likes of Communication Manager, Avaya Aura, IP Office, and also the CS1000. Those provide the baseline of communication that we build on top of. So when we talk about adding Breeze capability in, this is all about layering additional functionality and additional integration points on top of those communication foundations. As we move further up the quadrants, you'll see at the top we have customer engagement applications and team engagement applications. So from a team engagement perspective, here's what we're talking about is communication within the business. How do we collaborate effectively using the tools, things like Equinox, things like the Communication Manager, the UC elements that you know and already use today. Those are those elements that form part of team engagement applications. Conferencing, video conferencing, multimedia messaging, and so on. When we look at customer engagement applications, this is where we have our applications which are customer facing, so it's outward facing from the business. So things in here that you might recognize are Elite, the self-service platforms, Engagement Designer, the Avaya Aura engagement platforms. All of these applications all sit in this particular area. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a new area called Analytics. So again, as we heard this morning, there's lots of data out there, lots of information that's being collected, not just only from Avaya's systems, but also all the different systems that are available within an organization. And it's been able to pull all of that information together and be able to analyze it to provide actionable insight. And that's where the analytics segment comes in. This includes things like speech analytics, includes some of our reporting platforms like CMS, but you'll also hear us talk about something called Oceanalytics as well, which also sits in there. That's our new platform for all analytics across the enterprise. And in the middle, the jewel in the crown, if you like, is Avaya Breeze. So Avaya Breeze sits on top of all of these different applications and platforms and actually allows you to augment and integrate all of this functionality into your business process to allow you to provide the exact customer journey that you want for your end customers and consumers. Now, Avaya Breeze allows us to do two different things. First of all, it allows us to orchestrate different business events and connect those to various devices, various different channels of communication and people across your business to provide you with a business-driven outcome. So for example, it could be that you've had an event which tells you of a fraudulent transaction on your credit card. Well, perhaps you now want to reach out to your end customer using voice, using SMS, or perhaps email, and let them know about that transaction as soon as your systems are aware of it. It could be that perhaps you might want to integrate and react to an event from an Internet of Things device, perhaps a smoke sensor in a room. If that smoke detector goes off, then rather than sending somebody to the room to investigate, perhaps you could use CCTV cameras, which are connected to your IP network, to actually take a look in that room and connect it to the security guard or the fire warden that is on duty in that particular building. So again, speeding up the process, being able to do this intelligently and embed those communication channels into the overall business process. But the other thing that Breeze allows us to do is to also add functionality. So previously, if you wanted a new piece of functionality within our contact center suite, for example, then what you would have had to do is you'd have to perhaps put in a request, a functionality request into Avaya, wait for that to be assessed, then wait for the development teams to build that, and maybe 18 months down the line, 24 months if you were unlucky, you might get that request in the next version of the particular application. Well, with Breeze, we can actually add functionality to existing applications and existing platforms without having to wait for a new version to come along. We can create something called a snap-in, and that snap-in provides additional functionality. It could be, the snap-in could be to add mobile video to one of your customer-facing apps. It could perhaps be a snap-in to allow you to collect information during a customer journey and understand all the touch points that have occurred during that particular customer journey. Perhaps you want to add co-browsing capabilities to your website so that when a customer interacts with you via the website, not only can the agent interact with them via web chat or via voice, but they can also see exactly what they're browsing and how they're browsing on the website. We can actually help that end customer to provide them with a better service. All of these are actually existing snap-ins within Avaya Breeze environments that you can take advantage of and layer over the top of your existing platforms, existing applications. In fact, we have something called the Snap Store. See what we did there? Yeah. So the Snap Store is actually a marketplace in the same way as the App Store is on Apple or the Android or the Google Play Store, is that allows you to access already pre-built snap-ins to add these functionalities to your existing solutions. Now, it could be that these snap-ins have been created by Avaya, or it may be that they've been created by our partners, our development partners or partners such as Britannic. They can create their own snap-ins and put them onto the marketplace. And the reason why we're trying to encourage this is because it's actually very easy to create these snap-ins. Everything on Breeze is using open standards, using HTML5, using Java development skills. You can create a snap-in on Breeze very, very quickly. You don't need to know anything about CTI. You don't need to know anything about communication platforms. All you need to know is that you can program using Java, HTML5, and RESTful interfaces. And all of that is available today. You can take advantage of something called the Collaboratory, which gives you access to Breeze in the cloud, and you can actually start working on building your own snap-ins. If, however, you don't have development expertise, then there is also another option, which in itself is another snap-in within Breeze, and that's something called Engagement Designer. An Engagement Designer allows you to create snap-ins, build business logic, integrate into your business processes using a drag and drop interface. Again, you don't need to know anything about Java or HTML5 or even RESTful interfaces. If that's all gobbledygook to you, then that's fine, because you can use Engagement Designer just to drag and drop into from a palette of different snap-ins. You can create a workflow very, very quickly and very easily. So just to give you some examples of some of our customers who've actually used Breeze and the types of things that they've come up with. So this is Michigan State University, the first one here. Now, Michigan State University is a large institution out in the US, has over 400, my slide slightly shrunk a little there, over 400 different lifts within their campus. Now, what they did here is we gave Breeze to them. They actually had a hackathon with their student body. So all their students came along who could program. We gave them Breeze and said, right, think up some use cases for it. And they came up with this one. So in these 400 lifts they have across their campus, they currently have a state law which says if somebody presses the emergency button, it must be answered within 60 seconds. Now, the current way that they do that was, or rather the previous way that they did that, was to actually employ a third-party company who would monitor all of these lifts and answer that button when it was pressed. Now, that was costing them somewhere in the region of $400,000 a year to maintain that service. With Breeze, the student came up with this idea. What he actually did was use Breeze to intercept that call. As soon as that button was pressed, he was able to identify that event, and instead of sending it off to the third-party company, he was able to intercept that event, send an SMS, find out who was the janitor or the facilities manager on duty, send them an SMS, and automatically route the call through to the nearest office to that lift. So somebody could talk to the person in the lift and immediately then start the process of trying to rectify the problem. Now that was, again, just something which come up by a student. It cost them literally peanuts, probably pizza and Diet Coke, I would have thought. Maybe beer, actually, as it's a student, to pay for this. And they were able to implement that and save themselves over $400,000 a year on that contract. They came up with many other use cases. Another one here was around development officers. So, as with a lot of universities, they are always looking for donations, or always looking for philanthropy to help them with their budgets throughout the year and help them maintain this level of service. Now, what they found was the development officers were available. They had these development officers, the business development officers, going out to drum up this money. And what they were finding is that they were missing calls. And those missed calls meant that actually they were losing potential opportunities to actually drive more revenue. So again, another student idea. The students here used Breeze to intercept that inbound call to the development officer and be able to automatically send a screen pop to either their PC if they were logged on, or to their via an SMS to their mobile if they were out and about, so that they could automatically see who was calling, what their relationship was, probably most importantly, what their donor level was, so they could answer that call immediately, know who that person was, and be able to again, get their pledge to the university. So again, they were actually able to drive and show that this solution was able to drive 10 to 20% more revenue since they deployed this solution than the previous one. But there are many other use cases that Breeze can be used for. There's a number on here, as you can see. That could be down to call redirection, so that when you make an outbound call, you can dynamically change the the calling line ID, so it shows a different department or a different geographical location dependent upon the number you are dialing. We've also seen people develop black call or white call lists, but also dynamic team formation. So in the medical vertical, we have a number of hospitals in the US and in the Middle East who are using Breeze. When somebody presses an emergency button, they can dynamically outcall to a number of different personnel, bring them together onto a video conference or a voice conference, and work together to be able to rectify that emergency. But what I'm going to do now is I'm quickly going to show you a quick demonstration, which is actually showing the credit card fraud use case that I mentioned previously. So if we can switch to my laptop, please. Thank you. So what I'm going to do here, so imagine, again, the scenario here is that customer has a credit card with a bank. A particular transaction has been posted on that credit card which looks fraudulent. So the bank actually wants to immediately intercept that and reach out to the customer to check the validity of this particular transaction. So I'm just going to, and apologies, this will call my mobile. Unfortunately, we don't have enough cables to show the mobile and my laptop at the same time. But what I'm going to show is how you can use Breeze to trace this through as well on Engagement Designer. And hopefully this all works. So I'm doing this without a safety net, so please wish me luck. Here we go. A call's coming in.
Hello. This is a call from Gelsonwood Bank for Gregg Widdowson. You may disconnect the call if you are not Gregg. If you are, please press 1 now.
So as you can see, as we're moving through this, we can actually see exactly where we are in the workflow. You'll see these green boxes.
This is an automated call from the fraud department at Gelsonwood. There is a suspicious transaction on your credit card. Please press 1 if you want to review that transaction for authorization. If you do not want to review it at this time, you can press 0 and we will call you later. Please remain on the line and check.
Here we go. So what it's now actually going to do is actually, whilst I'm still on the line, it sent me a text message, which you may, or some of you at front may be able to see. I'm actually going to click on that. Now, as I've clicked on the link,
you just open the link that was sent. Please go through the details there.
We've automatically...
You have a transaction with Dodgy Dave on November 1st, 2017 for $1,000.
So while it's reading that out to me, I've also opened a link to a website which actually also shows the information, and it's asking me to confirm or reject that particular transaction. And I'm doing that not through the voice, but actually doing that from the website.
Thank you for approving this transaction. This will help ensure that service to your card is uninterrupted. We at Gelsonwood work hard for customer satisfaction. Thank you.
So from that example, what you can see is a couple of things. First of all, we're actually using multiple different channels of communication to provide the best service to the customer. So rather than just providing a voice-only conversation and read back of that information, at the same time, we can also show them that on their screen. So that's much easier. It could be as well that perhaps you might not actually want to read out the information. You might just want them to see that on their mobile phone screen. And as you notice, we could actually track the progress of when they click on the link in the text message, when they click on the acceptance or the rejection button in the website. So we're actually blending all of these different channels together to provide the overall customer experience. Now, that was all pulled together with this Engagement Designer workflow. So as you can see, I mean, whilst there is a number of boxes on here, it's actually fairly straightforward if you compare this to the amount of coding you would have to do to be able to do the same thing. So there's many, many different lines, multiple lines of code behind each one of these boxes. And we've been able to do this just in a drag and drop environment, fairly straightforward. It's really following the business logic of what you want to do. I want to reach out to the customer, I want to send them a text message. When they click on the link, I want to be able to read the next part of the message to them, and so on and so forth. And when you're actually running through this, as you probably saw as it was going along, these boxes are changing color as you're moving through that process. So you can actually check this live and in real time as you're put your coding together and you're running that particular workflow. You can see exactly what is happening. Okay, we can go back to the presentation now, thank you. Phew, that's good. I'm pleased that the demonstration works. You know, they say never work with children or animals. Can also add live demonstrations into that adage as well. So Breeze is extremely powerful. There are lots of existing snap-ins that we've created already there, but Breeze is so powerful that not only are we promoting this to our customers, but actually we use Breeze ourselves to develop our own products and services. So our latest omnichannel contact center solution, customer experience solution, is called Avaya Oceana. And Avaya Oceana has been built entirely on Breeze from the ground up. So what we've been able to do with Oceana is actually take some of the existing snap-ins that we already had in Breeze, so things like Context Store to track that customer experience and track those touch points as people move through the customer journey. We've been able to take attribute-based routing, which, as you may remember, Johan mentioned this morning. So moving away from skills-based routing, this has been able to route on individual elements of of context that's available around that particular customer. We've been able to take mobile WebRTC technologies, web chat, social media interactions, even the interaction of artificial intelligence. All of these are just snap-ins that you see across the top of that diagram that have been built on top of Breeze, and we've pulled together as part of an overall solution. In fact, some of these snap-ins have been around for a couple of years or so, and actually people have been saying to us, it'd be great if you actually had a product that brought all of this together. And that's exactly what we've done with Oceana. So it is an omni-channel solution from the ground up. It does work in conjunction with existing Avaya Aura investments like Contact Center Elite. But you can automatically take web chats, you can take SMSs, you can take emails, you can do WebRTC, you can do co-browsing, we can embed video into mobile applications. All of this is available within Oceana. We actually also embed in artificial intelligence. Our messaging automation solution works in conjunction with Oceana, so you can use artificial intelligence to answer SMSs, to answer web chats, to answer messages from the likes of Facebook Messenger or any other social media messaging platform. We've all built it all on top of Engagement Designer, so all the workflows around how we handle these particular inbound contacts and outbound contacts are all built within Engagement Designer. We track all of the context that is gleaned during the customer journey, and we present that in the bottom left-hand corner as you look at it. We present that to the agent so they can see exactly what the customer has done, not just in this particular interaction, but actually across the entire customer journey, going back over a number of days or a number of weeks or even a number of months if you so wish. And all of that can be presented so the customer can see exactly what happened at each stage. And then we use all of this context that we've stored to be able to find the exact agent or resource, whether that's in the contact center, whether that's in the rest of the business, or whether it's even an automated resource, to be able to handle this particular query the best that we possibly can. When we do send through an interaction to an agent, then actually one of the parts of Oceana is a fully functional HTML5 browser-based workspace, which provides all of the information they need to be able to not only handle the information, handle that particular interaction, but you can see all the customer journey, you can see all the interactions, the history of that particular customer's relationship with you. Now this is fully extensible. You can extend it, you can add your own widgets into this, you can integrate it into Salesforce or other CRM tools. You can actually build and configure this interface however you want. And if you don't like it and you want to integrate it into your own applications, then actually it's all built on top of something called the Breeze Client SDK, which means every single piece of functionality you see in that desktop can actually be replicated and created to build into your own applications if you have the skills or inclination to do so. We've also done a number of integration work as well. We're also already integrating Oceana into Salesforce. We've made an announcement, a couple of announcements at Dreamforce last week. We're continuing to expand that relationship and embed Oceana functionality either into the Salesforce app, if that's what you wish, or embed Salesforce into the Oceana Workspace. So I'm just going to finish off with a short video here, which is just going to show some of the functionality. So here we've got a customer just browsing our website, going to various pages, looking at different parts, and what we're doing here is we're actually tracking all of this information. We're just sending this to Context Store. So every click that they make, every web page that they visit is being monitored. We now offered them, because we've seen they've lingered on a page for a while, we've offered them a chance of a web chat. Now this is pulling up a web chat at the side here. How it looks and feels is completely up to you. You can pass all this information to your web development team. You don't have to go with the way that this looks at this point in time. But this web chat's starting off, and initially what we're doing here is it's actually a chat bot which is conversing with the customer. So the chat bot has tried its best to answer a question, wasn't able to, so now we're going to escalate it to a live agent. Now, as you can see, the agent not only gets to see the interaction that they're having, but they also get to see the past information that the chatbot has had with them. This is actually showing the customer journey, and you'll see all of the different web pages that we visited have all been tracked. We can see how long they stayed on there. We can see they now started a web chat, and we can start to scroll into that and understand some of the information that was collected. If, for example, this was a web chat that took place a couple of days ago, you can see the full transaction history, all of the transcript within there. This is just a mock-up of a simple piece of CRM, just to identify we've pulled up the right customer based on that context that we've collected during the web chat. But what we're actually going to do is the customer needs some help filling out an application form. So we're going to let them have a co-browse session. So we've pushed the web page to them. We said to them, would you like us to help you with the filling out of this form? Of course, it is completely down to the customer on whether they want to do this. Their permission has to be granted. But as you can see now, the agent can see everything that the customer is doing. So as the customer's filling this in, it's automatically replicated to the agent. The agent can actually say, well, I can help with this. And again, if the customer allows it, then the agent can take over control and start to fill this form in for them. Now, there are obviously certain fields which we don't want the agent to be able to see or to be able to complete. So that could be, in this particular case, we've got social security number, it could be credit card details, could be your national insurance number, that kind of thing. Also, we don't want the agent to be able to submit this form on the customer's behalf. So all of this information can be masked, it can be restricted, so the agent only gets to do what we allow them to do. And for those of you that may be worried, well, the agent's now got control of my laptop and can see everything, my complete browsing history and so on, actually, the agent can only see the one window, and that is the window that we have provided the option to go co-browsing in. So they can't see any other windows within your browser, they can't see any of the menu items, they can't see any other application on your laptop. So it is just contained within that particular web page. So that is, just go, so that's my last slide. Hopefully this has been interesting. Hopefully it's allowed you an insight into what Breeze is, what Breeze can do for you, and obviously how Oceana and Avaya are building on top of Breeze with products like Oceana to take advantage of all this and provide you with many of these snap-ins available in a shrink-wrap product that you can start to deploy and then build on top of. Again, because Oceana is built on Breeze, it is not limited. It can be extended, it can be built on top of, you can integrate with other third-party applications or different parts of your businesses and business processes. So hopefully that has been useful. Thank you very much and thanks for listening.